Seems to be recording. Seems to be okay. All right. So first thing we got to do is go over. There we go. The thing I asked you to do yesterday, I asked you to finish off this bowling question because it's a difficult question. First thing I asked you was graph the data. I'm not asking you to make an equation yet. All you got to do is graph it. On the left is what? X's. On the right is Y's. Remember, X's are independent variable, and they are usually time. Why? Time passes for everyone. Whether you're bowling or not, the time is passing. Right? So, our first dot goes at 140. Our second dot goes at 250. Our third dot goes at 360. And our fourth dot goes at 470. Right? Everyone agrees? Now, remember, the only thing we can do is put on the dots until we decide whether or not this is what kind of data. Does anybody remember the words? That's okay. They are right in your notes. Discrete and continuous. Continuous, we connect the line if and only if you can have infinite inputs. Right? Remember, I gave you the example of growing. You guys always have a height at every time, right? So a graph of your height would be a connected line. Whereas, if you only get allowance once a week, that graph couldn't be a connected line because you only get allowance 1 out of every 7 days. Right? With me? Okay. So, we got to talk about that. First thing is just that. Should I join the points on the graph? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, both answers are acceptable. What is the thing that is going to get you your points on this question if I ask it on a test? The explanation. Because that shows me if you understand what we're talking about. So let's talk. I've already given it away. I've already said both answers are acceptable. Some of you did this. Some of you won't have done this, but you're looking at it right now and you understand what we're talking about. So, yes or no, should I join the points? Riley and Perry say yes. So I'll do that in red. Why? Because you could stop bowling at any given time. Right? Everyone agree? Okay. But will your output change? Yeah. Here's what I mean. Is the guy charging you by the second, like your cell phones? No. Or is he charging you by the hour? The question says by the hour, but it doesn't say if that hour is prorated, which means if you use a fraction of the hour, you pay a fraction of the hour. Do you understand? So if you say yes, that's fine, but then your explanation must be the alley may give deals for partial hours. So if it was $10 an hour, right, you're basically paying $10 divided by 60 per minute. You understand? So you could make that argument. If you bowl 30 minutes, maybe he'd only charge you $5. But you don't know, right? So if you say no, then what's the reason? The alley is charging you by the hour. So if you go 10 minutes over your hour, you're paying for the next hour anyway. Follow me? Not yawn. You may be paying by the whole hour. Now I'll give you guys an example of this. Back in the day when cell phones first came out, before unlimited talking plans, you paid for your phone by the minute. So back in the day, phone calls went like this, because texting didn't exist. Phone calls went like this. Hey, how's it going? Yeah? Okay, I'm going to meet you at the Tim Hortons at 3 o'clock. Yeah? What, you can't make it? Okay, what, 3:30? All right, good, click. And then you looked at your time, you're like 58 seconds. Yes! Because that means you only paid for 1 minute. Okay? Now, if that doofus that I was talking to said 3:30, does it work for you? No. Okay, what works for you? You don't know? How can you not know? It's what works for you. 4:15, fine. Click. 1:02. You were paying for 2 minutes. Yeah. It was stupid. So what happened was you would get people talking and watching the time. And 1 minute, and then you would go, okay. And you could slow down because you had a minute to finish. Because you were paying for that minute anyway. And then one company, I can't remember who it was, said, we're only going to bill you to the second. Everyone was like, yeah! And then everybody started doing that. And then one company said, screw it. We're going to let you talk all you want. Now, of course, nobody talks. People take 20 minutes to have a texting conversation that would take 20 seconds if they actually phone the person, which drives me up the wall. And usually in that 20 minutes, somebody has sent a text that has some kind of 2 ways to read it, and somebody gets angry, as you guys are all aware. When you send a text like, oh, nice shirt, it's real easy to say, nice shirt, and the person knows you're being sarcastic. But you can't do that in a text. And then everybody gets mad. Oh, what are you saying? Well, I wasn't saying that. Well, what sounded like you were saying that? How can it sound like I was saying anything? I'm texting it. So you were reading it. But it still sounds like it. But that's not a sound, you idiot. All of you have been in those conversations. Or you have sent a text that was taken wrong. Because you can't send tone in a text. No, forget autocorrect. You can't send your tone of voice in a text. Right? Okay. No, you can't.
That's not in the
No, emojis and LOLs.
Where'd you get Xbox?
And yeah, this isn't,
What?
you carry your Xbox around on your back like a jetpack with a battery power.
You can send voice messages on our
Yeah.
Yes, that's not a text.
Yeah, that is.
No, it's not.
It's a voice message.
No, it's not. That's called voicemail.
Yeah.
And it's been voicemail forever. And everyone's like, oh, they got this new thing on iPhone. You can send a voice text. Nah. It's called a voice message, voicemail, and it's been going on since the 60s when your parents had a tape-recorded answering machine. It's the same thing. Oh, it's new. Whatever. No. Technology back then worked fine.
Pretty bad. Typewriter.
Yeah, you're right. Typewriters were so stupid.
They are.
Except for the fact that every wonderful, incredible piece of literature and all the knowledge that lives on your internet was discovered mostly back in the day with typewriters and abacai instead of
A
calculators.
typewriter's just a person who's too lazy to write it. Because it's the exact same thing, just a stamp instead of you writing a letter.
As opposed to you guys who are too lazy to say, hey, how's it going? Sup.
So? You've never said sup before.
No.
That's a lie.
And also when I send my text, they have whole words in them. And punctuation.
But that's the point of texting, is just be like quick and like...
Uh-huh. Now, the more important question here is B. Is it a linear relation? Because there is no wiggle room on this one. Yes or no? Is it a linear relation? Yes, of course it is. Why? Plus 1 hour plus $10. Over and over. Whether you draw the line or not. Because every hour increase means a $10 increase. And then the last thing I asked you to do, when H increased by 1, C increases by 10. So the last thing I asked you to do is write the equation. What are we going up by? 10. So that means H is 10H plus 30. Right? Alright, let's move it along. Move it along, little doggies. This question, or this section is weird. It's one of those things that when you first look at it, it makes no sense. What you want to do and what you do are kind of at odds with each other. Okay? So, the first thing I ask you to do is draw this graph. What is different about this graph from yesterday's work? It only has a variable and a constant. Yesterday's work all had how many variables? 2 variables, had an x and a y. So this is different. There are only x's. So, if I were to make a table of values, what is the only value I can put for x's? 4. Because x is 4. Okay? Always. Is there any y values? No. So every single y value has an x value of what? 4. So 4, 6, 4, 12, 4y. Because every value is an x. Got it? So where on our Cartesian plane does x equals 4 live? I go to the right from 0 along the x-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it always has to be what? X always has to be 4, right? So if I go up here, is x still 4? So I got to put a dot. If I go here, is x still 4? Here? 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 Yeah. X is always 4. What am I making? No, I'm not making CO2. I make CO2 by breathing. But that's only a little bit worse than the CO2 that came into my mouth. What am I building here? A straight line. At what point? Where x equals 4. So when I say describe the graph, x equals 4 gets me a vertical line. Nice spelling. A vertical line where the x value is always 4. Now this is counterintuitive, isn't it? Because when we say how do we find x? We count along the horizontal axis, don't we? So usually kids are like, well, if it's x, it should be a horizontal line. Until you actually think about the Cartesian plane, right? For x to never change, the line must go straight up and down. Because if it goes anywhere off of there, that x is no longer 4, is it? And if it were to go this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, x is only 4 once, isn't it? Everybody with me? So that is why the x only value gives us a vertical line. Cool? Okay. So what is the rule we just made up? What did we just learn?
Has to be a vertical
When?
when x equals 4.
When x equals 4, it's going to be a vertical? So if x was 7, it wouldn't be vertical?
What? How?
You're close.
Whenever x equals is the line, we should vertical line.
Whenever we have only an x variable, and this is key, whenever, and I'm going to talk to you about what I mean in a second. Whenever there is only one x variable, we get a vertical line at the isolated x value. Now here's what I mean by that. We get a vertical line at the isolated x value. We're going to talk about what I mean by that in a moment. So let's look at this very first question. Is that only an x value? Yes. Is x isolated? So that means I get a vertical line at the isolated x value, correct? So what is the isolated x value? Positive 1. And once I find the positive 1, I have a vertical line through that. Does everybody understand? That is really, really simple, isn't it? Even if you don't understand why, if you can remember, if there's only an x, it's an up and down line. You're okay, aren't you? Right? Now, here is what messes you guys up. Blank white space, you know I'm putting something else there. What if I give you this? What kind of line is that going to be? It's going to be an X line, isn't it? Which means it's going to be what kind of line? Vertical. Why? Because there's only an X value. Do you know that X value yet? Of course not. So what do? You got to isolate X because X isn't isolated. So we got to go back to unit 4, don't we? How would you isolate X there? You would subtract this X. Where else? From the 2. That's going to get rid of the X's over here, which means numbers have to be on the right, correct? So that means this number's in the wrong spot. So what would I do? Minus 3. Even though 3 is bigger than 8, right? Okay. Minus 3. So then I would get X equals 11. Negative 11. Everybody cool? Now I can graph it. Right? How would I graph that? There's 0. Where's X equals negative 11? Over to the left. I'm going to label it at negative 11 and then I can draw my line. Get it? What if I had 6 X's over here and 18 X's over here? I would still do the same thing. I would go back to unit 3, collect all my like terms, then I would do my unit 4 work, then I would do my unit 5 work by putting it on the graph. Are you all with me? Okay? If there's only an X, it makes a vertical line. You have to isolate X. Just like we've been doing since unit 3. Right? Okay. Brilliant! Look at the next one. What do we got? Only a Y. So if it's only an X, it's vertical. So only a y value. Therefore, that's what those 3 dots means. It must be vertical. I mean horizontal. Now, that's just logic, right? That just makes sense. X's and Y's are opposites. If X's are vertical, Y's must be horizontal. But that's not proving it, is it? Because proving something is different than logically thinking it, right? So let's prove this. How would I prove this? Well, we would do a table of values, wouldn't we? Right? Excuse me. Y plus 1 equals 0. What is the only number that can go there?
1. No.
1 plus 1 is 0?
No.
Negative 1. How do you know it's negative 1? Because you got to get y alone, just like we just did with the x's. Minus 1, y equals negative 1. No matter what x is, y has to be negative 1. Where is y equals negative 1? Right there, not left, it's y. So it's down. And the line would go through here. Gouda? Great. What's the rule? Exactly the same as this, except what changes? It's a y variable and horizontal at the isolated y value. I'm so lazy. Y variable horizontal. I know, right? At the, I didn't even need to change isolated. That was dumb.
I finished writing it before you.
Shut up! I know, that's kind of the point, right?
No.
Yes, that's exactly the point I'm trying to make. I insisted on using technology, and it was just as easy, if not faster, to do it by hand. That's kind of the point I'm making.
No.
Yes.
You messed up.
I haven't changed it because I've been arguing with Riley. Just like you guys do stuff with technology that you don't need to, like 7 plus 5.
Do you use a calculator?
Not for 7 plus 5, I don't. I use a calculator for finding the square root of 965.
What is it?
6.
30 something.
Yep, that. Square root of 8.
Square root 965.
30.4.
31.
How do you know that? Over 31?
Because the square root of 900 is 30. Because the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 100 is 10, and 3 times 10 is 30. And since 965 is close to 900, it would have to be close to 30.
The root is 66. Square root is 66.
Slightly more than 8, probably 8.1. Because 64 square root is 8. Can we get back to the new stuff now? Okay. Do it. What do you got?
3.
Where do you go?
Y.
Draw the graph. Y equals 3. There's y equals 3. Y is always 3, correct?
Yeah.
So I have to draw that line. The graph is a horizontal line. Every every point has the y coordinate of 3. Is everybody good?
We're amazing.
Well, I know that. You're in class with me. Every day you get slightly more amazing.
I thought it was awesome.
Awesome, amazing. They're all synonyms. I don't know why your guys' ability to do English falls away when you're in math class. Remember, similes are like metaphors.
Similes and metaphors are similar. It's a song I learned last year. Remember me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain.
Yeah, Mr. Duncan. What?
All right.
Right? What happened? You little dumb. That's a little wetty.
So, if x is vertical and y is horizontal, what must happen if I have x and y? And what do we call a line that goes both horizontally and vertically?
An X
No.
plus sign.
No, that's 2 lines. Diagonal,
Yep.
right? Diagonally. But
That's Harry Potter.
in math,
Diagonal.
that's why Diagon Alley is named Diagon Alley, because it's diagonally. That's why Nocturne Alley is Nocturne Alley, nocturnally. Nocturne, night, nocturnally, because it's where the dark magic is, and darkness is nighttime, and things that are active at nighttime are active nocturnally. Nocturne Alley.
Abracadabra.
Got it? Okay.
What will happen if you were...
Don't worry, Bryn, there isn't anybody in this room that got the Nocturne Alley
I did.
joke.
I did. I know. I've seen every single Harry Potter movie.
I've seen it too, but I don't know.
What would
Bryn.
happen if Harry... I did. I got it. He's lying to you, Bryn. Stop lying to yourself.
He does not. I just explained it out loud, he won't be able to explain it.
No.
What would happen if Harry Potter said abracadabra?
Nothing, because it's not a word. A magic
That's
word
not-
in Harry Potter's magic universe.
That's a magic word.
Not in Harry Potter's magic universe.
That's the...
Harry Potter obviously resides in a different universe than us.
That's the same.
Because in our universe,
No, they run through a wall.
no. Yes, because in our universe that is impossible.
No, it's not.
Magic doesn't exist in our universe. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist in his universe.
I can make this. I can make this pencil disappear.
Okay.
See it? Guys, no.
So, how do we graph an equation? You guys already know this. You make a table, because without a table, you don't have points.
Without a table, you can't eat dinner.
Now, x's are what?
The right vertical. The heart's vertical.
Input or output?
Oh, input.
Input. So x is where you start, usually. Now, who's graphing this? You are. So you can choose the x values, again, usually. But in this case, the x values have been provided for you. Now this is something that kids never understand. If this wasn't here, who would choose the x values? I would, or you would. So when I do these questions, I'll put in -2, 0, 2. And the kids will be like, whoa, where did those come from, man? How did you know to use 0, 2, and -2, bro? And I'll be all like, it's input. The same way you choose to hit the letter Q when you're typing something. You choose to hit it. If you need to type the word quit, you are choosing the word quit, so you choose to hit Q. I choose Pikachu. No. I
I
choose...
choose you.
Exactly. I choose these 3 values. And kids are like, I don't know where those values come from. Sometimes when I teach night school, I'm teaching adults. And the adults are like, Matt, where did those values come from?
When you teach adults,
Yes,
what grade?
night school. Adults don't have grades. They're taking the
Well,
course.
maybe they failed like grade.
No, the adults I teach at night school are the kids like you guys, like, high school doesn't matter. When they were in high school. Then they graduate and they go out in the real world, they're like, I want to be a nurse. So they go and they find out, oh, I needed Math 11. I totally screwed around in high school and didn't do Math 11, so now I need to get it. And then they come to the school and they say, can I, except they're grown-ups now, so it's more, can I get Math 11? And then the school district says, well, we already gave you a chance to have Math 11 for free. And then the kid says, who's now an adult, yeah, but I didn't care in high school because, it wasn't real life. So then the school district says, sure, we'll let you get Math 11, give us $500. And then the adult is like, what? It was free 2 years ago? And the school just say, yeah, I guess you should have paid attention then.
How come every adult impression is like a big stoner?
Because only somebody who thinks that way would screw around so much in high school that they have to go back after high school and pay for it.
$200.
No, it's free. It's just make us comfortable.
Oh yeah.
All right, so x is -2. That's what this is saying, right? Where do you see an x?
Right. 2x.
Right there. So the first point, point 1, is y plus 2 times x. But what's x?
2x.
No. X is
Negative.
-2 equals 4, yes? So then we solve it. Y minus 4 equals 4. Y equals what? What do I do with this 4? Add 4 to both sides. So y equals 8. So when x is -2, what is y? 8. Got it? That concept is apparently what blows up all understanding of graphing in the 10th grade. Kids cannot understand this. Even though a great many of them had my lesson at the beginning of this, where I said every x and every y make a pair. Anywhere in an equation you have an x, you can put that number. Is that complicated? No. And yet, kids have trouble with it. So there's our first point. What's our second point? What's x? Y plus 2 times 0 equals 4. So it's y plus 0 equals 4, so it's y equals 4. When x is 0, y is 4. Then you do the third one, which is what? Y plus 2 times what? 2 equals 4. Y plus 4 equals 4. Y equals 0. And then I graph it. -2, +8. 0, 4. 2, 0. Now the question becomes, do I connect the line?
How does the 0 work?
Yeah.
Why do I connect the line, Bryn?
I'm not gonna say it, but she's not letting go.
Can I put any number in for x? Can I then multiply that number by 2? Can I then add another number to it? So therefore, every value of x works, doesn't it? So therefore, I must connect the line. Now, to sum up all of today's knowledge, x equals anything. There's only an x, vertical line. Y equals horizontal line. and y equals, new word, it's not diagonal. In math, it is oblique line, which is the math word for it, but what does it really mean? Diagonal. Okay? Everybody good? Oh, it's going to stay up there, Arsh. Stay cool. It's like you're going to come over the table at me or something. Relax, buddy. See how chill I am over here? Don't be that way. Don't be so fierce. Just be cool. This is a safe space. Okay. All right, so now listen. You guys got 2 chunks of textbook work to work on right now. It is 8:48. The break is at 9:15. I wanted, as you can see, to try and get our quiz in this first block. We probably won't, right? Because you only got 27 minutes, okay? Probably have to cram the quiz in with our mid-unit assignment. But the mid-unit assignment is really, really short. It's 1 page front and back. So it's no big deal, okay? So we'll have no problem fitting our quiz, our mid-unit assignment, and marking it into our middle block, okay? But we can't be lazy in that middle block. You actually got to work through it, okay? Everybody good? All right, so let's go back to what we need to work on. You need to do, on page 170, get out the yellow highlighter.
Can you grab me one, please? Thank you.
I want you to do, okay, I'm not going to be able to highlight. I'm just going to write it out. Because I don't want you to do all of 2 to 8, but I want you to do some questions in there. Okay, 170.
Yep, got it.
Okay, I want you to do 4. I want you to do 5. I want you to do 7. I want you to do 8. And I want you to do 14. And that's it. On page 170. On page 178, which is the work we just did, I want you to do 4, 5, 9, 11, 15, and 17. Now, there is some graphing on here. A lot of this, it seems like a lot, but it isn't really, right? Is the line vertical? Yes. Okay. Think there's questions like that. Now, there is some graphing on here. Okay? If you have graph paper, you're welcome to use it. If you don't have graph paper, you're welcome to sketch the graph. If you're going to sketch a graph like this, then you need to use your head. If the point is 6, 10, then you go out to 6, up 10, and you need to label it. Okay? I'm going to print some graph paper right now, so you have some if you wish. Okay? I'll print off some. Everybody good?
Gucci.